One question that seems to arise when folks are using profilers or tone modelers such as the new Tonex pedal or in the past the Kemper profiler. Once a tone model is captured, should we tweak the settings at all? Now, I did a video back when the Tonex software was first released, very shortly after, where I actually just did a fun experiment where I compared the real amp to the capture and compared how the gain and the bass and the treble controls all reacted. Now, this was, in a way, a silly comparison simply because we shouldn't expect those controls to behave the same way. Tonex has no ability to know how the bass control is going to affect the tone on the real amp. It only knows what it's doing at that moment when it captured that. But it was fun to show that in some cases, some of these controls behaved kind of similar, and that's kind of good to know. But that raises another question. When we are utilizing a tone model within Tonex, should we touch the EQ controls, the gain control, or should we just leave them alone and play it as these were intended or captured in the first place? Now, I'm of the school of thought that we should do whatever we need to do to get the tone to sound right for any particular situation. It's not going to be possible for anybody to capture an individual tone model that's just going to work in every situation. Whether it's a clean tone, we're going to maybe need different clean tones, or overdriven tones, we're going to need different overdriven tones, depending on what we're trying to accomplish. So the more tone models we have, the better. But what if we could kind of squeeze more out of an individual tone model so it could suit maybe different guitars, different monitoring systems, etc.? As someone who's created many tone models and many presets for modelers, I can tell you this: it's very hard to create one particular preset or tone model that's going to work for 100% of people, 100% of guitars, 100% of monitoring systems. It really just comes down to personal preference at some point. So we try and create an array of tone models that are going to kind of run the gamut of different styles of tones and then have the ability to tweak it. Now, some folks will say, well, if you tweak it, it's no longer the same amp and tone model and you've destroyed everything. And yes, some people do get that dramatic about it. Trust me, I've had dealings with people like this. The thing about it is, that's interesting is, I always question, well, how does that amp sound in the room of the person that was tone modeling it? If we think of maybe one example, if I mic up an amplifier and I capture a tone model, and then I move that microphone 1 inch back or 1 inch over to the side off axis, that tone is going to change wildly. So we're still capturing the same amp, we're still capturing the same settings, but the two tone models are going to be completely different. So which one is the correct tone model that captured that amp? Well, the answer obviously is both of them are of that particular mic in that particular position. So let's say we have a tone model and we find, it's a little dull sounding. Well, can we use the treble or presence control to maybe brighten it up a bit? Maybe it's too boomy in the bottom end. Can we use the bass control to dial it back a bit? Is that allowed? Now, obviously, the title of this video and that question is very tongue-in-cheek. We are allowed to do whatever we want, and we should do whatever we want to achieve the final results that we are after. Today, I'm going to show you just how powerful it can be, and I'm going to use my brand new tone model bundle to demonstrate this. And I'm going to kind of use this video as a double purpose to showcase that tone model bundle, which is of a Mesa Boogie Mark V with a lot of tone models. I've actually separated this into 3 different bundles: channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and then a bundle that you can get all of these tone models together, because this is such a flexible amp that's capable of handling almost any tone we can imagine. So I hope you enjoy that. Please stick around and take a listen to it. I'm going to go through the tone models and I'm going to show you how we can use the very powerful EQ features within Tonex to tweak things so that they're just perfect. And you might actually be surprised that it doesn't take much sometimes. I will also, at the end of the video, let you hear in the mix audio of all of these different tone models from this, what I call the Kali 5 Ultimate Bundle, so you can kind of hear those. And I'll have a link below to not only a free preset out of this bundle for you guys to go download and enjoy, tweak however you want to, but also a link to the full bundle if anybody's so inclined to grab that. And it does help support my channel and allow me to keep making these videos. So without further ado, let's head over to Tonex and take a look and see what we have. Now, the really interesting part about the Mesa Boogie Mark V amp is all the different options we have with it. It is a 3-channel amp. Channel 1 has 3 preamp settings: clean, fat, and tweed. We can play these on a 90 watt setting, 45 watt setting, and 10 watt setting. The second channel has 3 preamp settings called Edge, Crunch, and Mark 1. They're all voiced very differently. And channel 3 has Mark 2, C+, Mark 4, and Extreme. So these are voiced very dramatically differently, and I really did my best to try and capture these in a way that really gave us a vast array of different tones. And this is a really great bundle to demonstrate just how powerful these controls can be because we have such a vast array of different tones. So starting on the channel 1 package that I have available, like I said, the link is below to all of these if anybody's so inclined to grab these and if they like what they hear. So you'll notice here that I have Clean 1B and Clean 1N. Well, on the amp as well, on channel 1, we have a normal switch and a bold switch, which further voices the amp differently. So let's just take a listen to this. Here is the Clean 1 on the bold setting. And I'm just playing my Gibson SG on its bridge pickup. Now, if I go to the normal setting, you can just hear how they're voiced a little different. Now, if we go down and find the fat settings, we have the same thing. Fat with bold and fat on the normal setting. The number after it, the 1 and the 2 and the 3, are just going to be the gain level that I use. So this is going to be very clean. So that fattens it up a bit on the normal setting. So a lot of possibilities there. Now on that channel 1, we can also go up to the tweed setting, and this is where I think things get very interesting. On the lowest gain setting, normal. The second gain level setting. And the third gain level setting. All right, so let's come up here to, let's say, this Tweed 3 normal. I've got a tone I like. What if we said we just want to brighten that up a bit? You know, I could come up to my presence control here, just add a dab of that, maybe pull my depth back, get rid of some of that fullness. You might say, oh, I did too much. I'm going to pull that back up maybe to 4.5, pull this back down to 5.5. Going back to the original. Could also come up to the treble control. Add just a little bit of that and pull a little bit of bass out. Or we could go much more extreme than that if we so desire. So you'll notice I really tweaked things in a pretty dramatic way with some pretty subtle changes. I'm actually really liking it there, but I didn't really sacrifice the general vibe of the amp. I was still getting that same tone, but it was just dialed in maybe a little better, or maybe worse. Maybe we messed it up, but it could potentially be dialed in a little better for whatever particular situation we're in. Maybe we're playing live and we find it's not cutting enough. We can go add a little dab of presence or a little dab of treble in there and things will work much better. Moving on to the channel 2 section of this amp, we have the Edge, Crunch, and Mark 1. So if we go over and find the Edge settings, what I have here are 2 gain levels. I have the lower one, and you'll notice this one is dialed in with the Edge setting a little bit brighter because the crunch part of this channel I dialed in a little bit darker. So we have complementary tones. Now let's say we want that a little fuller. We could come to our depth control and crank in a bunch of depth. And again, we didn't sacrifice the vibe of the actual tone model. We just shaped it to what we wanted more or less of. I could pull some treble out of that if I wanted to. So these can be very powerful, and I would say, yes, we very much are allowed to mess with these. Let's go to Edge 2. Again, we can go to depth. I'm using extreme settings here just so you can really hear what's happening, but if I pulled that back a bit, got a great killer tone all the way around. Now you'll hear why when I go to the crunch settings here that I dialed that edge sound to be in a little bit edgier. So here's the crunch style tone now. The second gain level, a lot warmer sounding. But maybe somebody wants a little more bite out of that. We dial the depth back, maybe put a tiny bit of presence and treble. And we've totally sculpted that tone very gently, but in a way that could give us the results we're after. Although I'm very happy with it the way that it is. And this channel also has the Mark 1 settings on them as well that has a toggle switch that allows us to go between normal and thick. Here's the Mark 1 normal sound versus thick. So the thick switch is doing exactly what it's designed to do, but maybe we find that a little bit too thick. And again, we come in with our depth control, pull it back, maybe add a little bit of bite to it. And again, I'm using extreme settings here just as an example. We go to Mark 1 with the second gain level. There I find it's far too bright. I made some big moves there. Let's go smaller. So we see we can really tweak these in a number of ways. to have them sounding exactly as we would want with very little effort. I was really enjoying playing through these particular tone models. On to channel 3, we have Mark IIc Plus, Mark IV, and Extreme. So here is the Mark IIc Plus, and we also have a bright and normal mode here. So the normal mode's interesting because we hear something like this. Bright just gives us a little more bite and almost a little more drive. So again, I dialed the normal in to really take advantage of the darker sound. But if we wanted a little more bite out of that, we can come to our tone stack and very gently add in whatever we feel we need. And notice I'm not making giant moves. I am sometimes in this video just for demonstration purposes, but a lot of times a little goes a long way. If I move to the bright, maybe we want to add just a dab of depth to that to give a little more fullness. And things are working beautifully there. All right, moving on to the second gain level. Kind of bright sounding because that bright switch is engaged. And we get a more laid-back, high-end, and a little bit creamier sound there. Moving on to the Mark IV mode. Here's the lower gain setting. That's with the bright on, off. I like to include these because everybody's tastes are different. I've been doing this for a while with creating tone models and presets, and I can tell you right now, no individual preset is going to make everybody happy. Some have to be a little brighter. Some folks like that. Some have to be a little darker. Some folks prefer that. So I really try to cover the whole gamut of possibilities, and that's why it's so important to know that we can also come up and tweak any one of these to get it bang on exactly how we want to hear it with our guitar, our playing style, and our monitoring system. Moving on to the next level of gain from the Mark IV. And the normal setting on that. Now moving on to the final setting, which was the extreme setting. We're going to have the bright and normal again. Here's the normal at a lower gain setting. The extreme bright is not my favorite, but again, if I wanted something that was really going to cut, I could come in here and add a bunch of depth in, maybe pull some presence back. And then we go to the highest level of gain setting I dialed in here. We'll go to the normal Extreme 2 setting. Then on the bright setting. Again, I could take that, I could add some depth, pull some presence out. I left it sounding bright because that's what that bright switch does on that amp, and I wanted it to be quite realistic to what was happening, and then allow the end user to be able to tweak this very mildly to get what they want. Now, if we even wanted more gain, we could crank up the gain on this. And there we have it. All right, so I hope you can see just how powerful that little tone stack and those deeper functions are. Now, I did not dive into exactly what's going on under the hood there. I will have a future video about that and really getting in detail about that tone stack and how we can tweak it in certain ways. But just using the controls as they pop up on the screen, we see with very minor tweaks, we can shape any tone model we're playing in quite dramatic ways, even with, like I said, subtle moves. And I usually recommend starting with very subtle moves. As I mentioned before, nobody can create a preset or a tone model that is going to be perfect for every person, every situation, every monitoring system, every guitar. So what we do is we create a bunch of different ones that are going to cover a wide array of tones. And then I also like to give people the knowledge of being able to know how to make minor adjustments very quickly on the fly, which we can do from the front of the Tonex pedal. Those controls are right there. So that if we're playing live and we find things are maybe not cutting enough, we know how to dial that in. Or maybe we need a little more fullness. We know how to dial that in. So I hope that that was a bit of an eye-opener and that helped some folks. Now I want to play you what a variety of these tones sound like in a mix so you can hear. I'm going to do 3 demo videos back to back. One is going to be of the channel 1 tone models of the Boogie Mark 5. One is going to be the channel 2 and one is going to be the channel 3. And like I said, there is a free tone model below that you can click on from my website, download that and enjoy that and tweak it however you want. But I also have the full bundle if you feel like supporting my channel. I really do appreciate that and it helps me to keep doing videos that I'm really hoping are helping people. I've had a lot of great feedback from folks in the Tonex community thanking me for the videos I've been doing, and it's helping them to get a lot more out of their Tonex pedal, and that makes me super happy. So here's how these sound in the mix. All right, what did you guys think? I was very happy with the way these all turned out. I hope you are too. As I said, again, there's a link below if you want to grab these. And I also have a whole bunch of other tone models on my website at another link below that if you want to go through, if you want Fender, Marshall style tones, Vox style tones, they're all there. And I really do appreciate you guys taking a look and a listen and supporting me in what I do here. So again, thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. And also please subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again for sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.